because, of course, it is the mystery font. Good gray, good gray, good gray. Ah, yes. That was. Let's see how we are now. There's that whining again. Ah, that's better. I sense that may be better. This is the mystery font. What's that? What is all this hocus pocus? This is all this hocus pocus. This is all this potus hocus, this potus hokum. This hocus potus hokum. Good gray. We can see through the reality distortions, and we can tap into the bandwidth of meaning, where shapes that we all see stand out in the fog. And they may mean different things to us, but sometimes they mean a great deal or hold a great deal of significance or meaning to most everyone. And if we hold these things dear, then we hold them together. It is destructive of these ends to permit destruction of this democracy. It would be destructive of the ends upon which we were founded and the promise we can deliver. Yet today, in fact, for the first time, we are confronting our mistakes and learning that we can process them. The intense assault on fact and truth waged by white fire terrorists who are using the same spectrum of white supremacist patriarchal terrorism to work to sow havoc again. That is the aggressive force of permuting falsehood. And as a special lesson, for Elon Musk and for Stephen Miller, some time ago, the people who created the idea, the construct of whiteness, started a system of criminal degradation of people who didn't fit a mold that they had built a construct around. And through genocide and theft and looting and crimes almost as dark as the boogeyman tales that white people tell other people that those people do. My ancestors, did not have to come here and poison wool blankets once we were comfortable. That is crime. It's abominable. It has nothing to do with Christ. And that is the energy that we can process and see as crime in the present day when it says we're cementing theocracy. We say no. The new Colossus says no. Separation of church and state protects freedom of religion. We do not establish a religion. That protects religion, and it protects our democracy. These are basic tentpoles. And the assault on this is essential drilling at the heart of America. We have to say no. So say I. From this outpost of the imagination of democracy at the Mystery Font 42 in Minneapolis, I say we need to say no to Project 2025, and we need to start talking to those gathering that monstrosity and holding them to account. And to stand down and seek mental health care for big feelings that don't get to go to there. We're not accepting a bullshit civil war that never needed to happen the first time. If we all agree that enslavement is bad and that we're not going back there to see if it was so bad, then in fact we can deal with the history and the legitimate grievances of the global majority. We can process all of the wrongs. But to Stephen Miller and to Elon Musk, the point is, racial discrimination is different and distinct from racism. And you know it, and it's fact. Racism is not the same as racial discrimination. And dangerous, intentional elision, coalescing and coagulating something together, you are trying to corrupt our idea of something so essential. We stand in fact for truth, justice, and the American way. And if the American way is not white crime, then we need to be able to look it in the eye. And when we look into the past, look it in the eye and say, great-great-granddad, I can see your history, and we can have what familial love there is, even if we make discoveries that we process and understand as cancer. And in having mercy and understanding for those before us who made bad mistakes and took evil into their hearts, or were to some extent within a terrorism that was part of their time, and to some extent afraid to go against that, or that there are things we can't know from here. But I think the historical record is clear that saying it wasn't so bad is absolutely an abominable assertion to make. That enslavement and genocide and the continued pattern of discrimination that goes on to today, to decades of bullshit argument about whether or not Because of course there's institutional racism that continues to harm the global majority. Obviously. And the gaslight of having these conversations about whether or not your white hoods are white hoods or not is just ridiculous and over. If you say bloodbath, you mean bloodbath. It's nice that it has a couple of different meanings, but you spilled blood. So watch your style. If you're not insane and, which I would allege, just psychologically unfit for the job of president, and demonstrably so, in the case of Donald Trump, then prove it. If you are not a threat, threatening in order to come back, to further be threat, if you are not coming to finish your coup with your soup poop part 2, we know why you want the chef job again. Like, you want to suspend something in the soup again. Forever this time. We're learning to say, no, he wouldn't do that as bullshit soup. He would do anything to sow harm. And we have to stop him by waking up. It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. While it's on TV, it is a TV, movie, reality. And that just means that we're taking stills during the production of Apocalypse that we get to cancel. There is no reason for violence, because as big as the terror in Marjorie Taylor Greene's throat and eyes and bandwidth is obviously just that white fire hate, it seems to say, I'm going to explode or else. Any of these things can be dealt with. The wonders of psychotherapy and other ways to process these things rather than turning them into tantrums. We're not stupid. So the dumb as fuck idea that we can be forced to tolerate watching people who actually have office and thus access to ways to deal with something rather than to make grandstanding protests within that that obstruct basic functions of government that hold us hostage. It's insane. We don't have to put up with this shit. We do not have to put up with someone terrorizing us with a statement that January 6th convicts are hostages or political prisoners. That is fucking ridiculous. And that is seditious. That is a traitorous fucking statement. That is a treasonous statement, I assert, for Donald Trump to make, for him to sing with those traitors is abominable. He should apologize to them for lying to them or for pulling them into his white supremacist fucking coup attempt. Why else is he coming back? And no, you don't get to say he's dealing with election interference. He is election interference. It is all a projection. The lie about his crowd size is attacked with a reversum mirror hoax where in fact Donald Trump can get his lie across by coming into the room, having the new press secretary scream at the press for lying. How dare you lie, and running out of the room. He was the biggest crowd in the world ever, and in person and around the world. And it's like, oh, Daddy Matty, oh, bad press. Oh, what? He said there was evidence, and I mean, we saw the, wow, next thing. Next new roof set on fire by a statement from Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon or Sean Spicer or Kellyanne Conway. Like the next day when she says, Sean Spicer said, alternative facts. That's apocalypse. And then says that Chuck Todd is being dramatic to say that that undermines the integrity of the White House press corps. To gaslight and minimize the literal crumbling of our holding democracy sacred together. That is union busting on the level of busting our national union. That is the mercenary terroristic shit of trying to break foundations that we trust and depend on until they're crumbling, and we know they're crumbling. And, well, who did this? I don't know. Maybe the person who said he was going to hold us in suspense did. Maybe he did. Maybe Donald Trump doesn't need to be continued. Maybe we just say no now. Maybe the person who has a new gag order on him, if he has a problem showing himself to be presidential, goes to prison, goes into custody, because he shows he is not even competent to stand trial for legitimate crimes. And fuck the idiocy of this Nazi Project 2025 already spread into press and elsewhere with, well, is this good for Trump? Or, well, what about, it's not a fucking horse race. This is an election to save elections. And it's not election interference when you do things that interfere with elections happening ever again. It's not election interference when you do legitimate crimes that shame the office, that destroy important, vaunted sacredness and the deference that you depend on. You are cannibalizing the respect and deference to an office that you destroy, that you surf. Like Elon Musk surfs $44 billion like a cracked up Joker cosplay. It is insanity. It is insanity. It is not election interference for us to hold you responsible for crimes. It is election interference to claim that that's election interference. Idiot. Let's pull that back. I'm not going to call you an idiot. I don't need to be mean to demolish your attempt to destroy America. You are not a good faith actor. You have shown that. You don't casually say bloodbath once you've spilled blood. How dare you brown shirts? Saying that, say it. How dare you brown shirts think to portray it? How dare you brown shirts wear in whatever way you are wearing them, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Elon Musk, in whatever ways you are wearing your brown shirt, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, Tucker Carlson, in whatever way you are wearing your brown shirt, Alex Jones, in whatever way, Charlie Kirk, you are wearing your brown shirt, in whatever way, Carrie Lake, you are wearing your brown shirt, and degrading and defiling to tear apart and cannibalize and sup on America. Your corrupt, violent, punishing codec is going to be refused by the new Colossus. The peering perversion of a theocratic white apocalypse can try to look into the mind of democracy, but it can only see as far as hate can stare into truth. It's not very far, it turns out. It turns out that the vision of MAGA is really not very good. They want to continue doing what they're doing, but we are here to steward our habitat from collapse. Anyone paying attention would know that we may have years, at best, to narrowly avert ocean collapse. We can't keep playing footsie with this ridiculous resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan. It's time to put instigators in jail. It's time to take the confession of Stephen Miller and the Heritage Foundation for a confession and prosecute them now. We need to perceive an attack on America as an attack on America in order to sustain America. Period. And thank you for watching. From the mystery font, the work of Tim Cameron and public displays of affection. From the mystery font 42, showed upon YouTube, and somehow someone else, some other people get wind of this too. This content is the sole property of Tim Cameron, except where otherwise declared, such as the song Broken Wings by 3 members, I believe, of the band Mr. Mister. Although the recording that I typically would play, or versions of it, are recorded by myself. Good gray, it is fonted, this house. Yes. Yes, gray array, liaised some way. Imagination aid might contain, after all, the sentience liaised. At war with walls and mazes we go through minds. In phases we renovate and replace our stasis. We are the name, we are the same radio science brain relay remade. This is the kindness mind made, imagination aid. Fresh lemonade, liminal aid, made today. Fresh squeeze, this is the mindness craving, imagine it waving, not in vain, this brain wave. Pretend that kindness came and was sane and asked you, do you have a cool game? Radio, science, brain. Particle, matter, wave, be name, be nature, your creature would create. Imagination aim, imagination aim, imagination aim, imagination aim. Imagination aim. Radio, science, brain. Waking wax out of wane. We can do anything. Scarcity myths ending if we don't let our humanity be made machining, if we are not part of what's decayed. We're breathing. And we bring things. We are the renovation of imagination. Kindness came and displays things. This is the mindness made. Lemonade. Today, mind played. Be game to play, be not prey. I play, you be play. Renovation, make way. Band of illumination, you are the radiation. I am, unless otherwise noted, or unless it's obvious because I'm singing along with the vocals of a particular pass-through radio science brain, I'm typically freestyling. Obviously, sometimes I'm really relying on repetitions of similar phrases that I jump from. But it's a song, poem, a field of ideas that is, in some sense, game, in some sense, song or poem or chronicle, a documentary glimpse that is in a bandwidth, creative and journalistic, I suppose. That is what I'm saying. Radio, science, brain. Imaginate, create your creation today. Remain through your ideation and the trail you leave for brains, where amorphic resonance displayed for minds that read waves like our waves waving. Veins of wind we are spun within mind division, not dividing from us. We're a division of all of us. Imagination client we trust and trust through time and space. Nature's habit, that's us. Imagination aim might contain radio science brain. Mindness made me this way. I want play, remain. Radio science brain contain this ache, the same mind Kindness thus active, mind placid contraction, binding rebound. Kindness can now enable it. Born today, nay, today shine it then with emancipate. Your intuition delivers your freight. Imagination aid, the creation, your creature, create and ape. Imagination ape, ape the creature your creature would create and create. Imagination ape, contain management of sapience. You are the advent of competence. Remain mind may be germane, radio science brain, contagious aim, capital case, remand, remit this place, space, relay, radio science brain. I don't know what the notes will be, I'm climbing them actually. It's me, I'm on the face of apostrophes, owning what I don't know until they bend and show their knees. Sees trusted, it shows us the truth and verities. The birds and bees, imagination. Waking wax out of wing, this is the mindless mean, lining activate, liminal, made into aid, mind made, lemonade, create your radiance. Happiness, bay to this aim. Be bay to the same, be bay. We can wake wax from emancipate. Contain this contagious aim. Perpendicular trains, parallel against hate. Pretend that love is sane. Perpendicular trains, parallel against pain. Emancipate, pretend that love is a trait we can contain and sustain. Radio science brain, remain, activate, remain, play, germane, play, your man, so play, triage of aim, emancipate, your game, be game to play. Good gracious. Good gracious. What? Good gracious. Oh. places. That's what this place is. Oh. That's what this place is. Wow. What, just so I'm clear, it comes to me now that I want to know at the sound of that tone, what's a good working definition of tyranny? Just curious. Oh, here, let's clear that up. Tyranny occurs when absolute power is granted to a ruler. In a tyrannical government, the ruler becomes corrupt and uses his power to further his own interests instead of working for the common good. Yes, that is Trump. I think that makes sense. And to see that and Project 2025 is clearly embracing the bandwidth of white supremacist patriarchal terrorism and tyranny of that, of course. This is what we need to prehend now, to apprehend in the coming summer. Good gray. Good gray. Good gray. We can do these things. It may seem like a lot, and the thing is, showing up for one another, showing up for human family to say, I see that you are suffering, and rather than let you blister into attacking people in the street, we're going to help you self-regulate, and we are going to make sure you have access to information that it sounds like you don't have. And take very seriously the real, massive reality distortions that have been promulgated by Fox and Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others that literally have bent massive warp into our field of shared reality. We are working to rescue fact and human trust. When we're conned and experience betrayal trauma, like we have for the last 8 years of an abusive relationship, it is common, Maria Konnikova advises us, that we might think to pull back from trust, but in fact, trust is something we must foster. The tree of democracy does not need any blood. It needs to be watered and stewarded. Tyrants are the only reason why the tree gets bloody. And there is no reason to follow a fickle and malicious terrorist. Only here to cement absolute power and in tyrannical government use corruption using power to further his own interests instead of working for the common good of America. It is simple to see havoc coming if we have the courage to look, and if we remember that we know what a ship looks like. We know what it looks like to see, well, that's not Burgles, the iceberg who hangs out here. Although I admit sometimes I think Burgles has been a vision of Project 2025 and Trump's threatened continued attack returning. That this, indeed, once again, sadly, content warning, this is the specter of coming white supremacist, patriarchal terrorist apocalypse that we can prevent. This is, I believe, Project 2025 and Donald Trump. Pure white fire, which means both the worst crime Earth has seen and fabricated nonsense. Grievance that is about humanity being human. And the difficulty of a culture that is addicted to punishment. And Henry Forded that, mass-produced and super weaponized that punishment into the transatlantic slave trade. That our genocide and residential schools and demolition of thriving black towns and flooding them with lakes from dams we loosed, filling in communal pools with caustic chemicals to keep people of color from swimming with white people, paving pools, paving parks that were spaces for people to be together as Americans and as guests of America. And that was stolen by white fire, the scariest little terrified, venomized menace that believes there is punishment and terror coming that cannot be stopped. What are we addicted to about punishment? We need to go back to how it is incepted into us. Whether it is circumcision or other torture, or whether it is the flick behind the forehead after hitting the first two people in front of you. The terrorist bifurcated strategy of intimidation and violence and a bandwidth based upon that. It is rearing its head. And we can handle this, America. We can come together and we can stop lying to our children about how slavery wasn't so bad. And we can find ways to, at stage and age appropriate times and methods, introduce, yes, there are some shadows in our past that are about mistakes made. And yes, we've learned to talk about them. And we can talk about some of the more difficult stories down the road. But know that if we don't tell our children about the diseases we're passing on, and if we hide and remove stories we're supposed to not doom them to repeat, we are then indoctrinating them into something. We are then withholding from them birthright of actual history. This is human wages of life that we are supposed to pass on. Only people trying to profit from, yes, it was that bad, from enslavement, from genocide, and further entrenchment of that enslavement math. Only people trying to profit from that and reinstitute terrorism would push MAGA. Only people interested in resurging the Ku Klux Klan would use Make America Great Again or America First as a slogan. You don't take something like that. You don't say bloodbath after you smeared piss and blood, or shit and blood, I'm sure piss as well, in the Capitol. You don't do that unless you mean to terrorize. Literally terrorize. Do you remember how many weeks you didn't shake your friend's hand? How many months? How long were these gaps in relationships and lives and dreams? How many people did you never see again who didn't get to say goodbye to their parents in person? Have you forgotten that he did not warn us? That was the only job. You have the watch. You have asked to preside, to be the one who presides over all. So because you can't be everywhere at once, you trust the reports that come in, and you are the one who presides, and you tell us when we need to know things. We trust you far enough to do that. It's your job. He broke his oath, and with it, the job, the watch. He abandoned the watch. He betrayed us to cheat, to grab absolute power. He abandoned the watch. It was a plan all along. If everything you do is a projection hoax, everything is about saying, I have absolute authority. I'll tell you what reality is. I get to do this. I get to do this. Well, look at no, it's already done. I did that. I get to do this. Well, I'm already won. Well, no, now it's election interference. No, this isn't a base that you get on and then now you're on base, kiddo. We can stop the ball in play and say, no, you are not just besmirching the office, you are bombarding the office with threats. To be fighting us after finding out that you had documents so sacred and dangerous to leave the room you stole them from, and that you fight us on that and say you have absolute authority to grab those private parts of our nation. Donald Trump is an attack. It is time to wake up. It is time to wake up. Can you see the ship? It's difficult to see it coming. But when you send an iceberg and you know where the current is headed, that white blade of hot white fire ice is coming. We are the reality distortion fielding. And we can look up and see this asteroid. And it's actually easy to stop. But just like we have to learn how to say no to the menace and vulnerable adult, Donald Trump, we need to say no. We need to learn to say no to Project 2025, to Stephen Miller, to Steve Bannon. Your Nazi attack has an answer, and that's wherever you're coming from, go back. You are not taking us back to cancer. That's your answer. You don't get to bring this fucking terrorism back to the table of human family again. The threat that this retrader greed, this abject crime, premeditated Nazi apocalyptic violent crime, that is what we must prehend now. Right now. We must see it now. We must see it now. It is here or waking, and the new Colossus must be awake to stop this madness. The time has come to be woke. Only a predator would tell you it's bad to be woke. Right, Elon? Only a predator would say wokeness is a mind virus. Only a predator would attack empathy. Only a predator would attack diversity. Only a predator would attack equity. Only a predator would attack inclusion. You racist, bigoted Nazis, your intolerance is cancer of the mind. And we will not abandon you, but you cannot bring it back to the table of human family. You have been infected, and just as someone with lung cancer gets help, someone with cancer of intolerance that can't help but hurt people, we're not going to let you be vulnerable roaming the streets with that kind of contagion. We don't leave anybody behind. And no one needs to die, even those of you threatening to bring this Nazi attack. It's time to see that human family and American human family is broad and spectrum and vivid, and here with all of the strength and honor and love that we can face this in us, because this is in some way touching all of us. This blade, I'm freezing now. This snapshot of a slow, menacing siege coming for, like a barge in Baltimore, the very core tent poles of democracy. We have to see it, and we have to gird and actually just gently say no and help these very vulnerable, indoctrinated neo-Nazis to safety and healthcare. It's totally abominable, it's crime, and you Kyles and Karens don't get to hurt people. You're human beings just like the rest of us. Of course you are not allowed to create a theocracy that destroys American democracy. Of course that would decimate Christianity as practiced. Of course that would destroy America. And it would be a betrayal of everything good that we have done. So no, of course not. Of course not. Don't be silly. We would never let you do that. And the horror show of this can go back to the mad clay it came from, because we're going to process our American apartheid not out of existence, not out of memory, but out of practice. Who is the falsehood? What evil lurks in the hearts of mendacity? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of mendacity? The falsehood knows.
We are the relevant. Perpendicular trains, parallel against tape, parallel against tape. Of this whole occupation. Perpendicular trains, parallel against tape, parallel against tape. Perpendicular trains, parallel against tape. We are more near the break. We can ease any ache. Everything we have took, everything we can take. Six the feet of separation. Six the fear of separation.
One of my own ilk. You see, it's a comfort because at least you understand what it means that my watch is broken. At least I have the confidence that I'm with another professional, decent person. Have you confidence in me to lend me your watch until tomorrow? It really is phenomenal here and horrific, but the way that Stephen Miller is ready to pounce with complete fabrication is simply a wrestling.
The end result of this, though, is that our opponents, the media, and the whole world will soon see, as we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned.
Yeah, that's just terrifying. And so here's
later
this
on in
whole
life.
So, but
this
Jim,
whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
So Jim Acosta is by no means alleging that plenty of people wouldn't already know English coming from other places. He's simply saying, hey, let's not bar people who don't already know English. But listen to Stephen Miller just use the fact that he has a microphone and the podium, and through bad faith can, try to humiliate and juke and sort of gotcha Jim Acosta, but truly in a way that's just abominable and is just really like a under the basement, like bodies buried there, Matt Walsh level, disgusting, depraved humanity kinds of level choices about how you're treating a human being. This, I think it really shows the diabolical dark triad mind of Stephen Miller. So just to listen, Acosta, again, is simply standing up for the right of anybody, even those, of course, people who maybe don't already know English. We want to make sure we're not barring those people. Of course, he's not suggesting what Stephen Miller goes on to perversely kind of batter him with, simply knowing that it will capture for the cameras, and it's just about degrading someone. It's just about attacking to have a pin move that looks good and sounds, again, shocking boundary violations meant to degrade our expectations about humanity and about fact and truth. So let's listen to this creature and what he ate.
Later on in life.
So, but
this
Jim,
whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
Jim, it's actually, I have to honestly say, I am shocked at your statement that you think that only people from Great Britain and Australia would know English. It's actually, it reveals your cosmopolitan bias to a shocking degree that in your mind, no, this is an amazing moment. This is an amazing moment. That you think only people from Great Britain or Australia would speak English is so insulting to millions of hardworking immigrants who do speak English from all over the world. Jim, have you honestly never met an immigrant from another country who speaks English outside of Great Britain and Australia? Is that your personal experience?
Of course there are people who come
But that's not what you said, and it shows your cosmopolitan bias. And I just want to say,
it sounds like you're trying to engineer the racial and ethnic flow of people into this country.
Jim, that is one of the most outrageous, insulting, ignorant, and foolish things you've ever said, and for you that's still a really, the notion that you think that this is a racist bill is so wrong and so insulting. Jim.
So this is simply Darvo. It is just denial and blistering, baseless attack. In this case, with a trick. Essentially, you're falling, but I already pushed you over, my friend. But, I mean, there's a diabolical trick here, and working again to trigger and shame someone as if he's now calling Jim Acosta racist for essentially working to say, hey, let's make sure we're not engineering and instituting racism. It's really gross. It's really a depraved human being who perverts that's time. That's time in government, and our officers of the press, our officers of government. That's the commerce of democracy. And it's literally sabotage for people to occupy that space with tactics meant to prevent this commerce of democracy. It's absolutely seditious and caustic. It's not, this is the bandwidth that we're looking at and the diabolical nature of M.
I made a speech. I looked out. The field was, it looked like 1.5 million people. They showed a field where there were practically nobody standing there.
The new White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, gave his first press briefing. He was also highly critical of some media organisations of the way he felt they had misrepresented the number of people who'd attended Friday's inauguration ceremony.
No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
It does not excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did not answer the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains.
Largest ever.
I made a speech. I looked out. The field was, it looked like 1.5 million people.
You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has dawned. The falsehood. Who is the falsehood?
Sets the fear of separation. 6, the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic.
Are we going to believe him here as he tells us exactly who he is? You don't look into a camera that you know others will be looking into and say something like this unless you want people to see it. This is a death threat to America, this moment, from 2015, 2016 or so. This is a death threat, just like saying, I will keep you in suspense. And people died. We are in danger. And it's because we're afraid to say no to a man who tells us that the punishment is absolute. But we just need to relieve this vulnerable adult from this self-abuse that he gets to tell us what the fuck is going on. We do not need a dictator. We would be forever decimated if we allow that to happen. We don't have that direct a connection to what it meant to forge the imperfect and yet improvable democracy that we have. That took a lot of heartache and incredible mistakes, and we're not going back to manifest destiny. As much as terrorists breaking in to power would like to sow that havoc, we're not going back to a normalized idea of constant 1776, Marjorie. We're not going to be groomed to lose executive function anymore. We are going to wake up and restore executive function such that the new Colossus can prehend and apprehend this violent, clear and present threat and danger from Trump and Project 2025. It's the least that we can do, because we have a duty to pass on democracy. Everybody before us has passed it on, but they've passed on the venom. And we're ready now. We're ready to dare to embark together onto the project of actual abolition of enslavement and a repair and regeneration of something like a peace officer force that is about care and administration that sustains human family and doesn't militarize or treat citizens and guests of America like vermin. We are the renovation of this whole occupation. And when we decide, we are all the presidents. We preside over this election together. We don't allow someone to break it apart by saying it's a hoax. There are channels, especially for people in power or who are in such an election. There are channels to make sure that things go all right, and they did last time. But somehow we let this man tell us every day for 2 months with silence that, oh, the proof is in the mail. He drew us to January 6th by never sending the very lure of proof that promised sanction of his knowledge, he said, of theft from him of the election. We all saw what happened, and we now know that he knew he had lost. It is abominable harm to try to give false hope to people, to try to give false hope to his supporters, and to lie to them in the first place about the mechanism he was employing on January 6th. He worked to end democracy, and now he says he didn't do anything wrong, and he sings with those prisoners who are justifiably incarcerated for serious crimes. And as the person who had the watch, he should understand that. But by going and singing an anthem with him that he uses, he allies himself with insurrection against America. So I say, on what grounds are we allowing him anywhere near? Because he is telling us this is an insurrection continued. He is telling us. He is pointing into our face now. He has told us. He has told us he wants to be a dictator. What kind of asshole says, I only want to make you pregnant for a day? This one. We are in danger until we have the self-respect to wake up. Only a predator would tell us that we should fear wokeness. Only a predator would tell us that we cannot trust our intuition, our kindness that tells us where our kindness comes from, in us and others of our kind. We are all one of a kind and one of our one kind, a massive diverse spectrum, and all of us, humanity. We can shake off this tantrum, this Rumpelstiltskin disease of cancerous intolerance and exploiting fear and falsehood. We can break out of this. We are in an abusive relationship, but we can see our way out. It is possible. It is possible to see our way out of this. We have to have the courage to say no. We are the reality distortion fielding. A ball of yarn is called a clue. Take these broken wings, learn to fly again, learn to live so free. When you hear the voices sing, the book of love will open up and let us in. Take these broken wings. Good gray thus, good gracious thus, good gray, array, liaised. It's a pollination of trust. This is the mindness made us just thus, just such. Radio sentient frame imagination, omnibus. There we are. Yes, indeed. The name, radio, science, brain. We are here at the font, in survey of what is font, after all. Aftermath, maybe the math's pathology is damaged, maybe actual adage can take us back, not to great, but to pact. Oh, hold me back, or I will burn the contract. we contained till we captured. Photographs would show terror and patterns we still use to sow terror today. But those photographs don't exist anyway. But those old acts, they happen. Those claps clapped. I know we know that. I know it is casualty damage. Matter man, I think we're human. I think we finally at this at last. I think are we there is past. Are we aftermath at last? Whoa, what is that spasm? That dance, that hazardous chasm. I want that orgasm. Yes, I'll have what they're having. I'll have what she's having. I'll have her orgasm. I'll have their whole chasm. I'll have just a flask of that sass. I'll have a whole cask. I will have what they're having. I manifest my destiny. 5/5 at least. 5/5 of my dignity. Hold me back, or maybe I'll burn all these contracts. Hold me back, or I will burn all of these maps and the math. And if you're burning books, you know Jesus will be lost to time. But science always will come back. After math, we'll find math and empathy again. We'll find steam with STEM and artful hunger. It's It's when I'm saying when we are there yet, we are at the end of this is maybe bad prophet. Maybe bad prophets told us this prophet was not human, sauce and loss of our God. Love lost. I think we are cost. How slow is a clap that pans once I revealed my project. Let's not take a punt. Let's be more than frailty. Let's be the courage, the surge of freedom. Rescued from falsehood and hokum. I think we'll hokum if we got 'em, but we'll be flotsam if we don't jet, daughter, and jet son. Let's get the getting while the getting can be done. Let's end Project 2025 and make America good as Project One. Are we there yet? I think we can bet it will go out if we let day tell us it's over or worth forgetting. Are we here? Are we watching it? Clearly it's not TV. It's not TV. It's not a movie. It's TV movie reality. Aftermath claps pathology gash claps path mythology gashes bloodbath bathos love's combats the combat in us. Let's be love or love omnibus. That's what this place is. That's right. It's the mystery font. Good gray! Holy Katzenbergs! What willikers! The mind of democracy is sentient. and awake. And here, the mystery font shows a view of the fontedness becoming physical form. That from time to time, through one of these portals, in another chamber that appears, pieces of the emergence of liberty, or of the dastardly, or of our potential diaspora be. This is the mystery font where all of the majesty and the disastery and the pageantry of actual humanity comes and contrasts and collapses not without cost, but for freedom, and in that sense, for free. I am your pupil. This is the font, the fonted house, Fremont, the mystery font. Fremont is you, after all, 4D2. Minneapolis, I love you. Look at you. We are the reality distortion fielding. One more time. Art can come to the rescue. Be game to play. Be game to play. It might sound nuts, but new under the sun comes. We are the reality distortion fielding. Well, we have a serious incursion of apparent hokum. Now, I'm not sure what I did there. But this is an interesting opportunity to see some of how hokum simply permutes and can really simulate just about anything. Well, anything. Being hoodwinked is more difficult to perceive than we think. By the time we realize those aren't our eyelids or that isn't our hood, we may be surfing patternicity for a new substrate entirely. Who is the falsehood? And how can we, in permuting hokum, see fact? How can we, on a platform run by someone with clear, malicious intent to break down freedom of speech, foster freedom of speech? How can we foster freedom of speech while Nazi fascism is rearing its head on this platform of Twitter that shares a feed of this proprietary mystery font content? How, Elon, can we help you find a path that humanity can accept you on? No one gets to talk to us as humanity like some of the worst elements of society are choosing to assert they may talk to us. The answer is no, Elon. You don't get to demonize empathy and kindness. Wokeness is not a mind virus. It is human kindness and guidance and science. It is our scient minds showing that love our neighbor as we love ourselves is a codec we understand and vaunt and believe in. We recognize that of the 14 signs of encroaching fascism, that a toxic assault on empathy and kindness is something we have to watch out for. And that red flag is raised. The terrorism of Ron DeSantis saying that Florida is where woke comes to die is apparent. That is a criminal, terroristic statement. And we need to be aware that people saying anti-woke are saying anti-black. We need to be aware that people calling the mayor of Baltimore a DEI mayor are using the N-word, essentially. They're calling him a denigrating slur that they are mapping into DEI. That the new update of the clear Ku Klux Klan hood that is MAGA, the little red hat, that there's a new update every week about the new thing that they're saying that really means this, the new dog whistle. And we're done arguing about whether or not you're Nazis. People who are not an attack can show themselves to be human family. And people who are showing themselves as an attack will find that the new Colossus and Americans are here showing you a path to healthcare, and if you require it, to accountability that may include incarceration or therapy that is against your wishes if you don't seek it out first, if you prove that your contagion is trying to spread. We're not going to let your vulnerable state affect other people or ruin your life. We're not going to leave you behind. We're not going to allow you to infect humanity with your cancerous intolerance. Absolutely no. We're not going to allow that spread. we have an opportunity to be the human race together. It's not easy, but it's a simple and simplistic, step-by-step path. Truth and reconciliation is not easy, but it's really the only path into the future. We should trust leaders that call us to our best potential, or to potential that is pragmatically sound and sustains us and sustains our best qualities. So no, we're not buckling to civil war. We are not allowing Project 2025 in the door. We are not allowing Project 2025 to mobilize. You are shutting down. We are watching you shut down. We are shutting you down. We are going to process this American apartheid because it's our responsibility. It's part of the American experiment. And we have a lot of work to do. You know that. And you know that Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Stephen Miller remain at large. This is Mystery Font 42. Ope Intuit. And you are the renovation of love's imagination. And it loves you. It loves you.